Radio, insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Thanks for hanging out. It's a road show on this Tuesday. Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We're down here at Rosie's. We invite you down 10th and P, just south of the Embassy Suites. You know Rosie's. I'm staring at, well, quite a few beer signs. They have a selection for you. They've got bourbon for you. Whatever it's going to take for you to get through Nebraska-Michigan State. Tonight is a tip-off at 8. So come celebrate, enjoy this win streak, enjoy a potential 5th in a row for Fred and company as Coach Izzo and Sparty come to town. They're not real happy based on what happened in Iowa City. Does Nebraska have enough juice to send these, well, program-changing seniors potentially out the right way? Numbers to get in today on Hail Varsity, 489-1240, 489-1240. We got the crew all here to talk some hoops. Of course, Elijah to my right, Connor Clark. He is actually, this looks freaky. It looks like he's in some independent film. No, he's just off to our right with the stage lighting. And then Will Wilson's like, is this thing over so I can get downtown? Will Wilson back in our KFOR studios. Will, a big Husker head and loves Big Red basketball, grew up with it. Connor Clark, you've had your share of calling games. Connor is upright after his 21st birthday at 4:07 Central Standard Time. That is impressive. Elijah, your 21st. I assume you got after it and you were back the next day.
Yes, I was.
I was not.
So I didn't
have to work anywhere, thankfully.
My 21st was on a Friday, so you better believe I stayed up till midnight on that Thursday.
Did you hit the diner?
I did not. I did not. Well, the problem was I did have a 9 a.m., which I did not miss the next day. So I made it to my 9 a.m. on Friday. Maybe it was 9:30. I can't quite remember. But that was after spending the night on Thursday night because I knew that COVID, the pandemic, was hitting the country and that the bars were probably going to be closing soon. And after 1 week of being 21, all the bars in Lincoln closed. So I got my one weekend, and then I was stuck inside for the next couple of months working. But hey, I got my one weekend in, and now we're, I guess, somewhat back to normal.
Well, I'm going to get Connor a shot here from our friends here at Rosie's. Dealer chooses, so
that's okay. That's all right with me.
It won't hurt. Will, do you have a suggestion? You're an incredible bartender as well as radio man. What do we give Connor here from us to him with love?
I think we put some hair on his chest, give him some wild turkey. What do you think of that idea?
We'll go with the McConaughey turkey. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
He's getting the willies already. Guys, let's talk Nebraska basketball. We'll dive into the latest on Dylan Raiola, and don't scream at me. I know it's probably day 2 of Raiola watch. Well, longer than that, but really good sit down by On3's national guy with Dylan Raiola on just where his head is at. News in the Big Ten when it comes to scheduling and what is happening after the conference meetings. And we'll dive in also to year 1 expectations. Good mailbag with our friend Mitch Sherman in The Athletic. Mitch with us in about 15 minutes. The mother of all Michigan State insiders, Jack Ebling. He is a 6-time sportscaster and Writer of the Year award winner. Jack Ebling around 5:40 to get us primed for Nebraska-Michigan State. But you're invited down here to Rosie's 10th and P food and drink specials, your headquarters for state basketball as girls action starts tomorrow. A week from tomorrow, boys action gets underway, and locally here, KFOR is all over it. Guys, how are we feeling? We're going to go around the table. This is not a drinking game, Connor. We're just going to see where we're at as Sparty comes in with a 4.5-point check next to their name. They are favored. Nebraska's embraced this underdog role. They've not taken a back seat or been scared of anybody. But Nebraska, I think the fan base has had this progression, guys, and you can nod yes or shake your head no. But you go from, hoping that you're going to win, going to well, maybe we can win this game, to, you know what, I think we can win this game, to, dude, we're going to win this ball game. I mean, it's been a progression like that, I think, for the fan base. A month ago, you're surprised when they got a win. You were happy that they played well. You're like, well, maybe they'll get over the hump. And then the injuries happen, and you're like writing them off. We're all writing them off. Both hands were writing Nebraska basketball off, and somebody forgot to tell the team. I don't expect them to win tonight. I think the party stops tonight just because of how good Michigan State is, on top of what they're feeling right now. Sparty is angry. They're ticked off at the Big Ten for punting the Minnesota game. They don't have a real clear shot at winning 20 games anymore. That's a baseline standard for Michigan State. They are going to look to take out an incredible collapse on somebody tonight. And I just don't know, based on the athleticism difference, that Nebraska can keep up. They may surprise me. I may be eating crow, happy to do it tomorrow, but I just think Michigan State may have too much. They're too good. I think Nebraska will give them hell, but I just think Sparty finds a way to bounce back. That's my initial take on the situation. Now, what the X factor here is the good folks wearing red and white in the stands at PBA, coming down to Rosie's before tip-off. They will help provide energy and will this team to a fifth straight. But Nebraska's progressed to the point where they believe. Ted Lasso signs, slap it as you walk out. You hit the horseshoe, or you slam the sign, play like a champion today, whatever. Nebraska believes they can win any ball game. I love that confidence in this team, and that can help propel them.
Well, in the wise words of Geno Smith, everyone wrote off this Husker basketball team, but they didn't write back. It's as simple as that. They kept on coming for more. They kept on sticking with the process. And Schmidt, I don't mean to call you out here, but I think you might be a little bit biased with that pick, with the wife and son both being
they don't
Izzo
like
fans.
me, and I don't like them. It's okay. There's no bias. We tolerate each other.
Well, I just don't think that they would let you pick against Sparty here. So all I'll say with this team, I don't have a.
Izzo's going to have my wife removed about 3 minutes after the ball game ends because she's going to be stalking him.
I don't have a great confident pick on if Nebraska wins this game tonight. You're right with the X factor being the fans, but I'll just say with the way this Husker basketball team plays right now, with the way they lock in defensively, with the way that everyone from the starters to the bench all follow that same mantra of what this Husker basketball team is about, I don't think this game is a game where Michigan State should be favored by 4.5. This feels like a pick'em game to me. Pinnacle Bank Arena has been where dreams go to die in the Big Ten this year. Everyone struggles at Pinnacle Bank Arena, and I don't think it's going to be any different with Sparty tonight. The question is which team, to me, that's the question to me, I should say, is which team is going to be making more plays down the stretch of this game? Recently, it's been guys like Sam Hoiberg, Sam Griesel, Keisei Tominaga, Derek Walker stepping up and making plays down the stretch for Nebraska. I do think Michigan State on paper has the talent advantage. The question is, are they going to be able to use that talent to make more plays down the stretch against a rocking home crowd and a team that is playing, knowing it's senior night, knowing that they're trying to make the fans proud, knowing that they're trying to end the seniors' careers in the right way? That's a big X factor to me. It's just who makes more plays down the stretch, because I think this thing is going to be close throughout.
I agree. I think that this is going to be a game from start to finish that it's going to be the type of game where you're going to be standing the entire time. That type of energy is going to be in the building tonight. And you mentioned it, good teams have come to PBA. They have not played very well against this Husker team. And that's partially because of the environment, but it's also because of the execution down the stretch from Fred Hoiberg and his squad. I think Nebraska gets it done tonight. I think they have too much momentum going into this game. The crowd's going to be all over Sparty tonight. And now, obviously, Sparty's going to be, pissed off because of the way things ended in Iowa City over the weekend. But you always know it's going to be a tough test when Tom Izzo's on the other sideline, obviously. He's one of the greatest coaches in the sport. But the way that we've seen this team progress, this is a buzz around Nebraska ball that we haven't seen for a very, very long time.
2017, 2018.
And that's a question that I wanted to ask all of you guys, especially you, Will, since, you've been kind of the Husker basketball junkie here for the longest of us. I mean, this is the most meaningful game since when? And, I think you could go back a pretty good handful of years. You say 2017, 18. You can maybe even go before that, too. So I think Nebraska gets it done, and especially because it's senior night as well, there's just going to be that extra emotion added into this game. And plus, this is meaningful basketball, too. You kind of have to win this game if you want to get into a postseason tournament.
Well, the thing about that 2017-18 squad, if you remember, was they did play in meaningful games like this. The difference was they just didn't win very many.
No, they lost by 5. They lost by 3. They could have beat Kansas. They didn't. and that was your difference. Will, let's jog the memory a minute. I mean, the biggest game in Nebraska basketball history, at least in the PBA era, was No Sit Sunday.
I mean, it's the biggest game in our lifetimes. The three of us, Connor, Will, and myself.
Right. Your guys's. I mean, there's a handful of Kansas games, Missouri games, Oklahoma State games during the knee era where they'd come in with number one, number two, number three on their chest, and Danny'd have the gang ready to go, and they'd chock him. ABC, Dick Vitale'd be there. I mean, there were some magic moments.
There was that Texas game when Texas came in. They were number 2 in the country at the time, and the number 1 team, I can't remember who it was at the time, had lost. That was a big game for Nebraska basketball, but that also wasn't a Nebraska basketball team that anyone was expecting to make the tournament. It was getting towards the tail end of the Big 12 slate that year. Postseason didn't really matter.
I think they went NIT that year, and then they got drilled by 40 by Wichita State.
I think you are right. I think you are right, but like, that game didn't have the kind of meaning behind it that this game has, that it's really, you know what, if you lose this game, it changes the whole complexion of your season. That might be a little bit dramatic with Iowa still looming and the Big Ten tournament still looming, but it ends that hot streak that you've been on with better opposition upcoming on your schedule than Michigan State and Iowa. Those teams are upcoming in the Big Ten tournament. So in terms of where Nebraska's at in their season, what's on the line in postseason, this game is huge.
Will, what do you say here? Biggest game since, and am I all wet, or am I onto something that the magic could stop tonight?
Yeah, this game, biggest since, oh, man, you got to probably go to that Kansas game, I think, that you were talking about, Schmidt, where Graham just went off. And that Russian, or I don't remember how to say his last name, who canned the shot to kill us. Yeah, that
Mikhailuk.
Thank you.
Steve Mikhailuk.
Thank you.
That was the most rocking I've ever seen Pinnacle Bank Arena, just as a side note, that game.
It was a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, the hardest part about this job is you can't make everybody happy. And, yeah, Schmidt, I see with what you're saying, man. I'm so scared about tonight. I think everybody's feeling good about what's been going on these past few weeks, and I'm afraid it might end tonight.
Well, it's to me, something I mentioned earlier, that
a friend Animal factor. Stopping by, making a quick appearance.
Right, gotta love Animal.
Good to see you, brother. That's right. Take the points.
Yes.
Take the points. 4.5. Go Greasel.
Well,
we love it.
It is that senior night factor, though, tonight to me. Does Nebraska play their best basketball because of it, or are they tight because of it? They've been playing their best basketball because, at least from an outsider's perspective, you guys can correct me if you see it differently, they've been playing loose and they've been playing free, unafraid to make mistakes.
Confident.
Yes, unafraid to make mistakes. Right. They're playing in a way that it feels like whenever they do go out there and take a chance, and I think of Sam Hoiberg's defensive prowess down the stretch of games. He's going out there and taking chances, but he's doing it confidently. And is that able to carry on in a big senior night type environment where, you know what, this is my last home game in front of the home fans. For Sam Greasel, you had one season of playing in front of the home fans, being the hometown hero that you always dreamed of being. Now you know it's coming to an end. Does that lead you to play your best basketball, or does that lead you to play tight and play some of your worst basketball?
Well, to Will's point, too, I mean, I totally understand he's feeling a little bit nervous. I think if you're a Husker fan, you would be lying if you said you weren't feeling nervous at all going into this game. We've even talked about this going into the Maryland game. Well, yeah, don't set yourself up too much because you're probably going to get hurt. It didn't happen.
Waiting for the chair to get pulled out,
exactly.
Man.
So there's going to be obviously a lot of energy in PBA, but I think there's going to be a lot of nervous energy in PBA. Obviously, the team's been playing with a ton of confidence lately, but that fan base, the nerve will kick in if it hasn't already. I think you'd be lying if you're a Husker fan saying you aren't nervous for tonight.
You better get to Rosie's here, 10th and P. Calm them nerves before the gloves touch at 8 o'clock. We're not here at Rosie's Hail Varsity Road Show. Again, your headquarters for state tournament basketball. Also Rosie's for girls, Acton, and boys next week. We want to invite you down here. If you've not had a burger at Rosie's, well, change that. It's they're incredible. The onion rings are phenomenal. I had to, well, truth be told, stab Doleman in the leg with a knife to get the last 3 onion rings, but they were good. And it was totally worth it. I patched him up. It was fine.
Can we see that again later? Or no?
Maybe. He may come in off the top ropes, be a surprise with a steel chair, and and take me down for the basket of onion rings.
Well, it's just such it's the great food here, great service, but it's combined with a great environment for sports downtown. Like, I was down here whenever the United States was playing in the World Cup against the Netherlands. They unfortunately lost that game, but it was packed in here. It's a great environment for sports. You're going to have some of the best food you can get in downtown Lincoln. Rosie's downtown location is awesome. If you haven't been down here, if you're one of our Omaha listeners or someone from across the state, next time you're in town for a game, make sure to make a stop at Rosie's. It is just awesome down here. Love the crew, love the food, and love the environment.
Connor Clark is doing his best fright show with the red backdrop. I like it. Elijah Herbel to my right. Will Wilson back at our KFOR studios. Chris Schmidt as Mitch Sherman going to join us here from the Athletic in just a touch. We'll talk with Mitch next segment. Jack Ebling, part of the drive out of East Lansing, going to be with us. And we'll get into some of Mitch's mailbag thoughts on the Raiola tour over the weekend. Big Red Basketball. Husker Baseball, a big weekend in front of them coming off of the South Alabama triumph. So we're there. Can get your comments into us. We're streaming the show live here on the road at Rosie's. Video is up. Can watch the show, comment on Hail Varsity's YouTube channel. You can also find us on the Hail Varsity Radio handle as well on Twitter at HVarsity Radio, KFOR Radio, KFOR Twitter, and KFOR Sports. So that's the Facebook side of things. You can get where you want to go and interact that way. Brennan already feeling it. Maybe it's a sign here that red behind Connor. Bet red. Connor looks like he is live from the tunnel. Back with you. We continue on. Rosie's downtown, where we're at, ahead of Nebraska-Michigan State with Hail Varsity Radio. Ahead of Nebraska-Michigan State with Hail Varsity Radio.
Hail Varsity is a must-have for true Husker fans. Get a monthly magazine that'll make checking the mail fun again. Daily analysis and breaking news, including the inside scoop on recruiting on HailVarsity.com. And every June, you'll get the Nebraska Football Yearbook, a season preview completely dedicated to Nebraska football that's as comprehensive as national previews. Use that promo code AR for monthly subscriptions, that yearly promo code DB at HailVarsity.com.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known, but what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
When it's not gardening weather, it's a good time to be thinking about it. If that's you, join the experts from Earl May in the garden. Hi, this is Dale Johnson. Every Saturday morning at 8:30, we talk about that time when you can plant and mow in the garden on KFOR.
Come celebrate and sing from the heart. The next Arts for the Soul concert event, Saturday, March 4th, 7 p.m. at First Presbyterian Church, 840 South 17th. This inspirational evening is a dessert concert and benefit for the Gathering Place and features the First Presbyterian Choir along with guest soloist Gretchen Pilley and Jack Rinke. Tickets are just $5. For more information, call 402-477-6037 or go to fpclincoln.org and click on Arts for the Soul.
New voices and a new home at 101.5. Get the latest on Husker sports and more. Mornings with Coffee and Cream featuring Damon Benning at 9. Bill Hooks and Will Wilson get you the morning hookup at 10. And KFOR's own Chris Schmidt wraps up the day with Hail Varsity Radio at 4. News, talk, sports, and weather. KFOR. Now at 101.5 FM and 1240 AM.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known, but what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity Road Show Tuesday in front of Michigan State, Nebraska, down here at Rosie's, 10th and P. You are invited out. Food and drink specials you're going to love. Not too far from PBA. The weather is nice. There is no ice storm. That's a high five. And, of course, you're coming in for state basketball for girls action tomorrow. Rosie's a must-stop. Again, boys action next week will be posted up here between games I have for state basketball. We welcome in a tremendous writer with The Athletic and does an awesome job covering Nebraska. Mitch Sherman joins us at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how are we doing? Thanks for the time.
I'm good, but I'm hearing you twice. I'm hearing you once and then again about 5 seconds later. Otherwise, I'm all right.
That is not fun.
That's my bad. It should be good now. We're good.
Maybe you'll get this question twice. Mitch, let me ask you about the weekend that's been for the Raiolas. Let's start there. Your reaction to just what ensued with the Nebraska fan base and their face-to-face with Dylan Raiola.
Me on Friday night that the Raiolas landed in Omaha, and then I guess not so much of a surprise then to see them show up at Pinnacle Bank Arena, but yeah, that was quite a scene, and it's something that can't really happen at any of the schools that are recruiting Raiola alongside Nebraska. For one, he's got the connection with his uncle Donovan that gets him in the door in Lincoln and allows him to have some small level of access to the program, even if it's just through one coach. Donovan, of course, has the rock-solid, pre-existing relationship, no doubt about that one, with Dylan and his family. So no questions from a compliance standpoint about whether this is legal for him to come in and spend time in Lincoln with his uncle during a dead period, and then to get the opportunity to go to the game and be recognized in the way that he was. I don't think that's something that would happen at any other place that's recruiting him. And I think Dylan recognized that on Saturday, that, no matter how Nebraska stacks up against Georgia and USC, and obviously it's in a different place with the development of its program, there are some things about Lincoln and about Nebraska that are unique and that stand above all of the other choices that he has.
Mitch Sherman's with us here. It's Hail Varsity Radio as we're down at Rosie's downtown Lincoln ahead of Nebraska-Michigan State. And Mitch, whenever you look at this Raiola recruitment, he is a star in the city of Lincoln. I think that was proven at the Husker basketball game. I think that was proven following the game down in Canopy Street, taking selfies with fans. And it really seemed like he did enjoy that for the most part. But do you think that that's a selling point for Nebraska? Or do you think if you put yourself in the shoes of a guy like Dominic Raiola advising his son, or just a 17-year-old in general, do you think that's still the same selling point that it appears to be from the outside? The fact that, you're going to go there and be a star as opposed to going somewhere else and just be allowed to focus on football.
Yeah, it's a selling point. I mean, I understand kind of what you're getting at, Elijah, and you get down the road a couple of years and the expectations for Dylan Raiola would be sky high at Nebraska. And if he's not a Heisman finalist in his freshman year, there are going to be some people who are disappointed. That's just the nature of it. He would be the highest rated, if he stays in the position that he's in now, the highest rated signee in the history of Nebraska football. So at some level, the expectations would be out of hand and unrealistic. You can only do so much as one player. But at this stage of the process, and I think all the way up until the point when and after he makes his college decision, you're not necessarily going to see the negative side of those incredible expectations. And, while Dominic Raiola, yes, he understands that and he knows all about pressure and the environment and how it can, eat people alive to some degree, whether it's in the NFL or at Nebraska, at all levels of big-time football. That's certainly not something that he's accentuating and pointing out. I wouldn't imagine with Dylan and Dayton, his other son, at this point as they go through the recruiting process. I think when you're in his shoes, you expect to be great. And he's probably not thinking about the downside of what could happen as a result of all that's going on now and the hype that is building.
Mitch Sherman is with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Mitch, obviously the scene at PBA was, something unlike I'd ever seen before recruiting-wise. And Nebraska still, as you said, going up against the Georgias, the USCs of the world. But how much of an advantage, if any, is that uncle connection with Dylan and his entire family? Because, again, as you said earlier, no other school could do what Nebraska could do this weekend, and it's just only pushing the envelope further for Dylan to experience Lincoln unlike any other recruit.
It's a huge advantage. Nebraska would, I think I can safely say that Nebraska wouldn't be in the picture for Dylan Raiola if he didn't have the family connection. If Dominic Raiola had played at USC or anywhere, let's say he played at Hawaii and stayed home, and that wasn't an option for Dylan at this point either. It was just schools, that didn't involve anything having to do with his family past. Nebraska isn't in this thing. Nebraska's not a program right now with 6 consecutive losing seasons that's put itself in position to compete for the number 1 ranked player or the number 1 ranked quarterback in the country. And Matt Rule and his staff can recruit their butts off, and they're going to get some 4-star players, and they're going to be in contention for some great talent without having connections like that. But the door opened for Dylan Raiola because of his dad's past and his uncle's present, undoubtedly.
Mitch, I guess, retained by Matt Rule, that it didn't have anything to do with Dylan Raiola. This is about the coaching acumen. And now with a couple months of hindsight, seeing what that recruitment has looked like, do you believe that the Dylan Raiola factor played into Matt Rule's decision, I guess Satterfield's decision as well, to keep Donovan Raiola around?
Well, I think they would have looked at Donovan differently and seen him through a different lens if he had no relation to the number 1 quarterback in the country. That said, I do not believe that was the reason he was retained. I think the Nebraska coaches, starting with Satterfield and then up the ladder to Rule, felt a connection to Donovan Raiola, felt there was an opportunity for him to be the right coach for the Nebraska offensive lineman. You don't make that kind of a sacrifice you don't make a decision like that based on the possibility that you're going to be able to sign one player. Look, if he was not the guy, if he was not the right fit for Nebraska as an offensive line coach, you're opening yourselves up to all kinds of problems because if you keep him for the wrong reasons and then it doesn't go right with the offensive line, even if you do get Dylan Raiola, there's all kinds of uncomfortable situations ahead. Nebraska doesn't want to be in a position where it has to make a change with its offensive line coach because it hired him for the wrong reasons 1 or 2 years into the career of this young quarterback. So no, I think they legitimately and for all of the right reasons wanted to keep Donovan Raiola in charge of this Nebraska offensive line, that they felt a connection there, that they saw his upside and benefits in the way that he has been taught to teach offensive line and in a way that he can mesh with Matt Rule's coaching staff. But all that said, much like the family connection opened a door for Dylan to be involved with Nebraska, I think the Raiola name opened a door for Donovan to be given consideration to stay with this program.
Couple more minutes. Mitch Sherman is with us from The Athletic. At Mitch Sherman, we're down here at Rosie's, 10th and P, ahead of Nebraska-Michigan State. Mitch, when it comes to Casey Thompson, what's your gut tell you on expectations for him this spring? Is he going to be ahead of schedule to do more than just do mental reps. What are you hearing, or are you hearing anything? I mean, as we turn towards fall here, about 20 days away. Or spring, excuse me. Spring 20 days away.
Not quite fall yet. Yeah, I think he's. I think we'll see him throw a football. I think we'll see him do some light work, maybe in the second half of the spring. But I don't think they're going to push it. I don't think they're going to make this an all-out competition between Thompson and Jeff Sims. That can wait. You're not going to benefit necessarily from seeing those guys go head-to-head for a short period of time when Casey is not 100%. So, even if he feels good enough to do some of the drills that Sims is able to do, I don't think Nebraska's going to push the envelope. The last thing that you want to do is run him out there when he's as old as he is and experienced as he is, and that he's going to catch on in a short period of time when he finally is 100%. The last thing you want to do is bring him back early and risk additional injury. That's just the risk it far outweighs the reward in that situation. So, I do get the sense that Casey's coming along well, but I don't think we'll see a lot of him this spring other than, as you mentioned, mental reps and being around the team.
Mitch, 90 seconds. This run Nebraska's been on. Does it end against Sparty tonight for basketball?
I'm going to say no. And that's part of the reason I'm getting in my car and driving down from Gretna to Lincoln here in about an hour to come watch this thing. I think, they're on a special run and playing at home with the advantage that they've got. And being hyped up to see Tom Izzo and Michigan State on that other sideline and close this thing out in a storybook kind of way. I think that's going to be a pretty big advantage for Nebraska tonight. This isn't an overwhelming kind of Michigan State team, but, still plenty good enough to beat anybody in the Big Ten and certainly Nebraska on any night. But, I think the storybook run continues, and then we'll see where it goes from here as they venture away from home.
Mitch has been the most confident among any of us about
Nebraska. We're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Mitch says, I love it. Mitch, good stuff as always with The Athletic. Thanks for your insight, and hope the double talk got better in your year. Thanks for persevering, bud.
Yep, no problems after the beginning. Hey, you asked for a prediction, so I gave you one. We'll see if it's accurate.
Mitch, take care, bud. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
There he is, Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. The Pride of Fairbury is about to choke slam Connor. That might be illegal. Bill Doleman shortly on Hail Varsity. Shortly on Hail Varsity.
As the Nebraska winter drags on, count on KFOR to keep your family safe. Immediate news and severe weather updates. School closings on demand at KFORnow.com. And the award-winning KFOR News and Weather Team to keep you ahead of the storm. Stay connected and stay safe. KFOR, FM 103.3 and 1240 AM.
Boys District Basketball Tuesday night. Lincoln High plays at Omaha Westside for the A6 Championship. I'm Jeff Moats. Join me for the play-by-play. Coverage begins at 6:50 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call the Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Stay one tread ahead with a new set of Kumho tires from Tio Haas Tire and get $150 back. Here's your chance to tread up with a new set of Kumho tires and drive away with extra savings. A $50 instant rebate and up to $100 back after online submission. You might even qualify for 6 months interest-free financing. Go to TioHaas.com for complete details.
Tio Haas, tire and auto, a tradition of trust.
Hey, come see us for our winter clearance sale. This is Chase over at Brown Shoe Fit. We have hundreds of men's and women's fall and winter shoes on sale. With all your favorite brands, including Sorel, Bourne, Clark's, Tom Hill, Riker, and Brooks. Save on winter boots, dress shoes, casual shoes, slippers, and many more. Brown Shoe Fit in Lincoln, located on the 66 and just about Q.
I'm Scott Trout, attorney and CEO of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. We help men deal with the life changes triggered by divorce, such as child custody and property division, among many others. But life changes also occur after divorce. These changes can make parts of your existing court order irrelevant. If you feel a modification to your court orders might be necessary, talk to us at Cordell & Cordell. We're a partner men can count on.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Hey, this is Dan Bongino. Stay connected by joining me here each weekday from 11 till 2 as a former NYPD police officer, Secret Service.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
We'll do a Tuesday edition here. It's Hail Varsity Radio as Schmidt sits back down. You at the bar? Where were you?
No, I was talking to our dear friend Animal. We're here at Rosie's, 10th and P. And see that stare? This is Fran McCaffrey, Bill Doleman-esque, right? See that stare going on? Sort of. You see? I mean, it's...
Connor's upset about the last paper that he turned into Bill. From what I've been hearing over here, Connor got a C, thought he deserved an A, and Bill says you had too many underscores in the paper.
Wow. That's no good. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240. Emails, always welcome to send emails our way, chris@hailvarsity.com. So we're here today ahead of Nebraska-Michigan State. We're back here at Rosie's next week for state tournament coverage and action. State tournament coverage begins tomorrow as well with some of our affiliates, of course, in Lincoln, which is great. So that is just a great time of year. You have the 20th of March when spring ball gets rocking and rolling. So it's all good. Emails to get to. So this is Greg in Michigan.
Oh, I love Greg in Michigan.
Greg in Michigan's a longtime listener, and he is laying out what happens tonight to Nebraska basketball. Sparty is PO'd about Iowa. True. Yes. I went to the Michigan State-Nebraska game in Lansing. I think Sparty wins by 20.
Whoa.
Matchup at the 4 positions going to be tough. Go Big Red, Greg in Michigan. So he loves Nebraska.
I do agree with him with what he has to say about the 4 position, though. If it's Oleg that's got to put in significant minutes tonight, Nebraska's at a severe
Where's
disadvantage.
Keita at?
He turned his ankle at the end of that Maryland game.
He will not play tonight.
No?
No.
Is that Mr. Miyagi Needle?
I highly doubt
Is that Connor's inside sources, or is that
that's
public
just
information?
Me.
That's
time
Connor
tuned together.
Yeah.
Keita drag himself off the court.
He will not put it. Well,
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of with Connor here if we didn't see him the rest of the season, just because of all the problems he had with his ankle. You turn it again, you say, you know what? Take a couple of months off. We'll get you back this summer, and your career is bigger than these couple of games trying to get us in the NIT. I do see that. Just with all the problems he's been having, but I don't have any inside information if he's going to be playing. If he is not playing, and you have to go big with either Derek Walker and Wilhelm to try to match up, or Derek Walker and Oleg, you're going to struggle. And if you go small, I do think you're going to struggle against the size of this Michigan State lineup. So that is something to watch. If Nebraska's small lineup is having some issues defensively against Michigan State's offense, I do see them trying to go big with either Oleg or Wilhelm, and I see Michigan State having a big advantage there.
Well, I think Wilhelm, in order for Nebraska to have a lot of success tonight, Wilhelm's going to have to play, obviously, very quality minutes. And he did that against Minnesota. And, it's something that he struggled with, especially, staying in ball games with the foul trouble, especially because he usually picks up, 2 to 3 fouls in like the first 5 minutes he's in the game. But if he can put together quality minutes, we'll probably see Oleg in there a couple of minutes as well with no Keita. But, Sissoko, on the other hand, only played 20 minutes against Iowa, only had 2 points, only shot the ball 1 time. Now, again, I didn't watch the entirety of that game. I watched the first half of it, but I think Sissoko he obviously is a really good big in the Big Ten, but he's also a guy that I think Derek Walker can find his weak spots, especially at home, and take it to him, because obviously we've seen Derek Walker go at some of the best bigs in the entire country and have large amounts of success. And what's encouraging, and you don't want this to happen, but it's encouraging the fact that Walker didn't have his best stuff against Minnesota, you still kept it essentially an 8-point game from wire to wire, and that was a big improvement from everybody else on the floor. But Walker's obviously going to have to show up tonight if Nebraska wants a chance at winning this thing. I think Sparty by 20 is a little aggressive, but I think the guard matchups is where Nebraska will struggle more.
Well, the home court advantage may be worth 20 for Nebraska alone.
Well, the reality is outside of Walker, you didn't get much from Wilcher in the first meeting. You didn't get much from Tominaga in the first meeting. You didn't get much from Vandemel or Gary in the first meeting. It was Walker and it was Griesel.
It was a bad offensive performance.
What happens tonight and what's the new normal here for Nebraska? During this streak, you've been getting good glass work. You've been getting Kisei to score double digits and at most times 20 a night. You've been getting at least solid performances from Griesel. Maybe he's not gone off offensively, but more times than not, he's been pretty consistent, 50%, and he's made some smart shots and tough shots. Walker's been good. It's not always been perfect, but Walker, for the most part, he hasn't always had to be the barometer. There's been other guys pitching in. Mm-hmm. You need Kisei tonight to go for 20. You need double digits from Wilcher. You need another 20 and 10 from Walker. I mean, that's just what it's going to take tonight. And they've been doing that, and it's been pretty awesome. But now they really have to do it, because when you look at talent and size and speed and what Sparty wants to do in transition and how good they are from three-point land, I mean, it's going to take a good offensive night, but it's still got to be Nebraska basketball. That how they've won this year is winning 70-65 or 65-60.
Got to make it ugly.
They've got to ugly it up. It's got to be a little bit of a rock fight element tonight for Nebraska to handle it.
And Connor, that's what I want to get your take on. What's the number that you think Nebraska needs to hold Michigan State under in order to stand a chance tonight? Because I see this 65. Game as
that's what I was.
I was just going to say a race to 65, maybe a race to 70. Whoever gets there first probably gets the win. But that was just what I had in mind. So I don't quite know, because I just don't trust Nebraska's offense to go consistently put up 70 points.
Well, so they've been good, but this is a different spot.
I think there's going to be more strain in the Husker defense and the offense tonight. So I just want to get Connor's take.
Well, yeah, I think 65 is a pretty accurate number to put to. If you hold Sparty underneath that number, I like your chances, just because the way the offense has been playing, especially in PBA, especially the past month as well. I think you're going to see tonight from Nebraska a lot of that spread the floor action. Everybody get out, get Walker the ball at the top of the key, let him do his thing. Now, if he's in foul trouble, that'll change, obviously. But from the get-go, you're going to want Derek Walker to settle into this game rather quickly. So expect him to get the ball a lot in the early going. Expect Nebraska to run that action to the left and the right sides of the court, where they set a stagger screen for Tominaga, where he either has the option to come off the screen or he can hit a back cut with a Walker pass. You'll see a lot of that tonight, but I think Hoiberg's going to try and get Derek in some space early on tonight to try and let him create, because he's just been so good at doing that one-on-one against bigs. Now, Michigan State will adjust to that as the game goes on, obviously. Again, Tom Izzo's their head coach, but he's going to get the ball a lot. Keisei Tominaga, he'll get his. They're going to defend him very tightly, obviously, but if Nebraska holds Michigan State under 65, I think that's a pretty good number for Nebraska.
Well, that'd be phenomenal after this Michigan State team put up 100 in regulation against
everybody
Iowa.
Knows the hoops are bigger at Carver.
We'll get Will Wilson's take on this. Will, point number. What's the magic number for Nebraska scoring wise, and who is the guy that's got to be it tonight? Is it Walker? Is it Griesel? Is it Tominaga? Who's got to be the MVP tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you got to score. If there's a number. I think it's like 80 points or something like that. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think there's a chance it goes to overtime too. But with everything you guys just said, Derek Walker cannot get in foul trouble. I mean, if he does, we are screwed.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's huge.
Well, very blunt. Thank you for the edit. I know where the thought bubble was going.
Well, he's not wrong.
No, he's
not
at
all.
Wrong,
but
right.
Walker tends to get or can get in foul trouble, and that's just how it is. We'll wind down this first hour as we invite you to Rosie's. What are your plans for Nebraska-Michigan State? Make Rosie's downtown part of your plans. 10th and P is where we're at. Hail Varsity continues, and we're presented by Currency.
new voices, and a new home at 101.5. Get the latest on Husker sports and more. Mornings with Coffee and Cream featuring Damon Benning at 9. Bill Hooks and Will Wilson get you the morning hookup at 10. And KFOR's own Chris Schmidt wraps up the day with Hail Varsity Radio at 4. News, talk, sports, and weather. KFOR. Now at 101.5 FM and 1240 AM.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
Ask most contractors about a kitchen or bath remodel, and you'll get similar answers.
So how long?
Yeah, about 2 months.
Longer than that.
3 days.
Longer than, wait a minute, what?
3 days.
3 days?
3 days or less. With 3-day kitchen and bath, you get a new kitchen or bath finished with top quality products and craftsmanship, all in 3 days or less guaranteed.
No eating out because my kitchen is in shambles for a month?
Nope.
No borrowing the neighbor's bathroom for weeks on end?
You'll have a whole new look in 3 days or less.
And those other guys?
They want our web address. Hey, what's your web address? See?
A lot of people will.
Just visit 3daykitchen.com. 3daykitchen.com.
3 days?
3 days. Yeah, isn't that something? 3-day kitchen and bath. Simply amazing.
3-day kitchen and bath.
For all your remodeling needs, call Good Guy Construction at 435-3355.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer, Michelle. As an entrepreneur, every day is different. My phone bill from Cricket, on the other hand, always stays the same. Without surprises, hidden fees, or annual contracts, I can work worry-free. That's Michelle, everybody, doing business like a boss. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer, paid for testimonial. See cricketwireless.com for details.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. If you want to learn a language, there's no
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, pre-teen Swedish boy.
Winding down this first hour, it's Hail Varsity, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, Will Wilson, Brad Fairbury, NBC Sports. Bill Doleman is going to join us at 5, and then Jack Ebling will be with us at 5:40. He's covered Michigan State for decades. Jack, an incredible writer and radio man, 6-time State of Michigan National Broadcaster of the Year. So he'll be with us here in a little less than an hour. We beat up Nebraska-Michigan State. What happens tonight, what our confidence level is. Some Raiola thoughts as well from our dear friend Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Numbers to get in at 489-1240. Keep the emails coming. We'll get to more of those. Chris at HailVarsity.com, and can always stream the show. Do so on the Hail Varsity Twitter handle at HVarsity Radio, or watch the show with Hail Varsity's YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. All the great content, KFOR Sports, Twitter, and Facebook. Can also check the show out this way. Have we waned at all on the number of Big Ten teams that get into the tournament? Are we still confident with 8? Are we still confident about Purdue as a 1 seed, where they slipped to a 2? My gut says, because of the respect for the Big Ten, Purdue, assuming they don't lose out their next 3, they'll end up as that 4th 1 seed. I think your Big 12 champion, I think your Big Ten champion, or regular season, will get a 1 seed. But they seem to be running out of gas right now. Now, I say that, they're going to flip it around and probably win the Big Ten tournament in Chicago. I don't know. Playing right now, you have Nebraska playing about as well as anybody. Northwestern's been really strong. Iowa's going to try and make a final push. Sparty needs to get right. And, of course, Indiana right now, man, they're a moneymaker. Indiana's playing great ball. Their last loss, though, they got drilled pretty heavy by Michigan State. Pretty fascinating time to see who has enough gas to get to the finish line.
Well, Jalen Hood-Schifino is making the money for Indiana. I mean, that dude has been unbelievable. And he's the big reason why they won against Purdue this past weekend.
They have a second scoring option outside Trace Jackson Davis now.
I mean, he is really making a great case for his draft stock. As for tonight, you mentioned Michigan State has to get right. Right now, they're 7 seed in bracketology. That may change a little bit. That was updated, though, this morning. So that was post-Iowa loss. So they're in the tournament. If they want to be comfortably in the tournament, obviously, they want to take care of business throughout the rest of the regular season and maybe win a couple or 2 games in the Big Ten tournament. Nebraska, meaning for this game as well, they got to win if they want an NIT berth. I know a lot of people are talking about NCAA tournament maybe. I'd pump the brake a little bit. I think you at least have to get to the Big Ten championship final, at least, and then probably have to win that as well. So let's pump the brakes there.
They got to win the whole bleeping thing. They got to go major league.
I agree.
Sorry.
Quickly here, I did see some Twitter discourse that people are saying, you know what college basketball should do? They should put your non-conference games first, your warm-up games, get into the Big Ten slate, and then leave 2 weeks for the end of the year to go schedule yourself 3 or 4 other non-conference games against Power 5 opponents to help out scheduling in the NCAA tournament, because so many teams do change throughout the year. Nebraska's a completely different team than they were
Thin the herd.
So
the bracket busters at the end of the year for teams that are on the bubble.
Well, I wish this Nebraska team was in that tournament down in Orlando right now, because they probably do much better.
Yeah.
Hour 2 is on the way. Hail Varsity live at Rosie's downtown. We invite you down here, 10th and P. Hour 2 coming up.
Having an estate plan ensures that your assets will go to the right beneficiaries. Join Roper & Sons for a free learning event on March 21st at 6 p.m. at our Midtown Chapel. Andrew Loudon, a trusts and estates attorney in Lincoln, will lead a discussion on common mistakes made in estate planning and answer questions. Dinner will be served. Don't miss this free opportunity. To register to attend, call Roper & Sons at 402-476-1225 or visit roperandsons.com.
Birds survive cold winter nights on food they consume during the day. So a well-stocked bird feeder is just what birds need to keep them going when winter food sources become scarce. Haven't started feeding the birds yet? Stop by the Wild Bird Habitat stores for Nebraska's largest selection of backyard bird feeders, birding supplies, and quality wild bird feeds. Wild Bird Habitat, Lincoln's backyard bird feeding centers for 30 years. Alamo Plaza, 56 and Highway 2, or north at 4900 Dudley Street. Voted Best of Lincoln in 2021 and 22.
3 people you should be 100% certain about: your barber, your plumber, and your tax pro. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and you can be 100% certain about your taxes. We'll get you your maximum refund guaranteed, and we'll back your return for life. Don't be kind of certain or almost certain. Be 100% certain. Switch to Jackson Hewitt today and get 50% off tax prep. Limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around. Treatment has really saved my life. To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit PTSD.
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From the ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. A preemptive strike from the White House. President Biden says congressional Republicans are planning to target health spending in the next budget.
For weeks now, the president sounded the alarm about what he says will be Republican spending cut demands.
If mega Republicans try to take away people's health care by gutting Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, I will stop them.
Some Republicans have made those proposals, but the party still has not released its actual budget cut plan they say they'll need in order to raise the debt ceiling this summer. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
The Supreme Court heard oral arguments today on the White House student loan debt forgiveness plan, which a number of Republican-run states say is a governmental overreach. A decision is expected this summer. Mobile air and soil test labs are being brought to the site of a toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
We've heard from many residents about their concerns about dioxins in the soil. We are exploring what kind of soil sampling might be prudent and available for this community.
EPA Regional Administrator Deborah Shore says the labs will operate round the clock as long as needed. Snow in the Northeast affecting travel around the country, canceling hundreds of flights.
Today, the most heavily impacted airports from the weather are in New York and Boston. New York's LaGuardia has the most canceled flights of any airport in the world today, followed by Boston Logan and JFK Airport. JetBlue, Delta, and Alaska are the most impacted large airlines. That snow will move out, but then there's more arriving, likely on Friday.
ABC's Alex Stone. The FAA says a JetBlue pilot had to take evasive action while landing last night at Boston's Logan Airport when another aircraft crossed an intersecting runway. Stocks closed the books on a volatile February with some losses. You're listening to ABC News.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured, so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Good evening. This is Connor Clark. It's currently 46 degrees at KFOR. President Biden's student loan forgiveness is being challenged by Nebraska and 6 other states, and it's one of 2 cases being heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. This comes 6 months after the president announced to forgive all or a portion of student loan debt for 43 million eligible borrowers. An estimated 370,000 Nebraskans stand to receive $10,000 to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. If the Supreme Court agrees, Biden has the authority to grant that relief. Whether or not the debt gets canceled, the case's resolution will bring changes. The 5th grade student at Prescott Elementary School that brought a loaded handgun to school last week and allegedly threatened to use it towards a classmate will not be facing legal ramifications, but his parents could. The Lincoln Journal-Star reports that Lancaster County Attorney Pat Condon said the child is too young to be tried, even as a juvenile. The 10-year-old boy was referred by Lincoln police on suspicion of terroristic threats, use of a weapon to commit a felony, among other alleged offenses. How the child got the gun and whether his parents will face criminal charges remains unclear. An armored rescue vehicle was used to ram open a door to South Lincoln home on Monday afternoon, where SWAT team members and other law enforcement surrounded a home where a man made threats towards his family and law officers. Lincoln Police Sergeant Chris Vollmer says this happened in the area of 36th and Van Dorn, where 36-year-old Stephen Schiffermiller barricaded himself inside of a family member's home. About $5,000 of damage was done to the home, and nobody was hurt. Schiffermiller was arrested for terroristic threats and for an outstanding warrant. Lincoln East, Lincoln Southeast, and Lincoln North Star are the latest boys basketball teams to win district titles on Monday night and earn trips to the NSAA Boys State Basketball Tournament next week. Lincoln High has a chance to win a district championship and earn a trip to the state tournament tonight when they play at Omaha Westside for the A6 District Championship. Coverage of the game for KFOR starts at 6:50 p.m. Weather right now at KFOR, it is 46 degrees. Tonight, mostly clear and a low of 31. And tomorrow, increasing clouds and a high of 50. For KFOR News, this is Connor Clark.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Thanks for hanging out. It's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Tuesday here at Rosie's Roadshow. Here till 6, but guess what? The beer is being poured well after 6 to get you ready for Nebraska and Michigan State. Line is -4.5. Sparty is favored. Connor Clark is doing extra credit by staying off set. The pride of Fairbury is Bill Doleman. He is here. Elijah Herbel. Will Wilson here. We're gearing up. Great crowd down here at Rosie. Still some room for you. Can join us at 489-1240 or 800-825-5865. Decent weather, a lot better weather than the last time we were here, and it's going to be buzzing. Bill and Elijah, this buzz has been great. Not that we've been working on since we got here. I'm kidding, of course. I'm talking about the buzz for Nebraska basketball. 3 seniors specifically. When you look at Walker, Greasel, and Bandemill that have really kind of flipped not only the Fred era, but year 4 of Fred era. And it's been just a crazy, long, strange trip, as one Bill Walton would say, with where Nebraska basketball started, the Creighton win, to where they're at right now, and just the importance of this moment here to keep on trucking for a postseason berth.
You know, it seems like Nebraska's gone through year 4, 5, and 6 of the Fred Hoiberg era this year alone. When you go back to the speculation coming into the year, could they adjust? Could Hoiberg do what Trev Alberts challenged him to do? And I think for the most part, the non-conference season was reasonably okay, highlighted obviously by the kick in the Southern Hemisphere to Creighton, which I think we all enjoyed. That was one of the high points really of the Hoiberg era, no question about that. But then you had some ugly losses, like just every Nebraska basketball game that you may have seen for the last decade plus. Just get blown out on the road and not play well. The loss at St. John's was terrible, in the non-conference.
They've used that moment, though, to really handle pressure. They've learned, they've gotten better from it, but it was hurt at the time.
Right, but this team, you go through a good non-conference with the win over Creighton. I think you'd have to say it was good because of that win. And then you had some down moments in the early part of conference play. I remember we were talking, if they could go 7-5 down the stretch, they probably get themselves in position for a postseason bid. Then they have a not-so-good January. You've got the injuries to your 2 best players and 2 of the best defensive players in the Big Ten in the country, arguably. The 2 guys that Trev Alberts gave the black shirts to seemingly 2 years ago. It's been so long. But then they come back and Fred adjusts things, and they've been scoring 70 points per game with regularity now. And the chemistry is off the charts. And it's amazing to hear the buzz in town when people talk about this being a successful season and how much they've enjoyed it. And being at PBA and it's sold out. It's just really been remarkable how much this season has ebbed and flowed and peaked and valleyed. And to come to a point where, they may be one of the a postseason team regardless of what happens in the Big Ten tournament.
Now, Bill, whenever you look at that Fred Hoiberg impact this season, I think a month and a half ago, a lot of people were ready to write off Fred Hoiberg as being the coach at Nebraska. Nobody thought that Fred Hoiberg was a bad coach, but it just seemed like a case of a good coach couldn't quite get it going at Nebraska. There's a lot of problems that Nebraska faces being a football school in the Big Ten, trying to go up against some basketball powers, but he's really turned that story, that narrative around here in the past couple weeks. So just what do you make of the coaching job that Fred Hoiberg is able to pull off here in the month of January and February?
I can't put my finger on how it is they've gone from, being a team that was averaging 63, 65 points per game to a team that's averaging 72,
they're making shots.
And that's kind of what it comes down to when for so long we talk about it, this team just cannot make shots for whatever reason. But maybe it's the same thing, and the shots just are falling. And maybe it's the momentum of the Tominaga having everybody excited and making plays, and it is really remarkable. I enjoy watching him play. It's kind of like with Tominaga, and this is really odd comparison. People say I like watching offensive and defensive lines play in football. I love watching Tominaga play away from the ball.
Yes.
He moves so well, and maybe it's that 3-on-3 experience that he has with the Olympics and winning the gold medal, and he was a star, in that style of basketball. But watching him move without the ball, the cuts that he makes to the baskets, how many layups does he get a game, right?
That sets the tone for him where he gets the feel, he gets the finish, and then kind of moves out.
And makes the shots.
And he's a three-point guy for sure, but he's getting close looks or the mid-range. That's usually his first or second shot. I mean, occasionally he'll launch from three right out the get-go, but he's kind of warming up with a touch and a finish at the rim. Well, I think.
If you guys get the chance, Nick Baugh did a great breakdown of why Keisei Tominaga has exploded over the past month, just with the offensive sets that Fred Hoiberg is creating for him. I highly recommend you go check it out on Twitter. I believe it was Nebraska on BTN who put it out. You can probably check Nick Baugh's Facebook page, or Twitter page as well. But a great breakdown on just what this Husker offense, what Fred Hoiberg is doing in order to get Keisei these looks. And it's really just feeding a hot hand that it kind of leads to the entire offense. If you got two guys on Keisei, it's going to leave somebody open.
But I think that in part is because he is so good without the basketball that enables him to draw the X's and the O's, knowing that one of those X's moves well to get from A to B to C and to get that open shot. And it's amazing, he's drawing the best defender on these Big Ten teams, because they know they've got to find him either under the basket or they got to chase him to, outside the arc. And who would have thought that Tominaga would be the guy that you've got to run a box and one for, in Big Ten play this month. But I don't think you can also understate what Sam Hoiberg has meant because of his just all-out hustle. And a side note, does he not look like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny? But anyway, and Horrible Bosses, But I think Sam Hoiberg, whether it's like, I got to go and help Dad. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be me.
You got to lean on family.
But he's that guy. He's that guy that provides a hustle spark. He's made some great instinctive defensive plays at the right times. The steal was that against Maryland? Arguably the play of the year, I think, for this team. But there are other guys like that respond. Griesel's kind of that all-out player. So now you got two of them, defensively that are all-out, diving and not afraid of the floor bruise. Derek Walker's been terrific, and I think he's made himself a lot of money once his Nebraska career is done. I just think this has been one of the best months of Nebraska basketball that we've seen since, the whole no-sit thing under the 10 Miles era. And if you want to go way, way back in time to the run Nebraska made to win the NIT championship in the 1990s. It's just the collective set of games at this time of the year has been just so enjoyable.
Well, quickly, to get back to your point about Sam Hoiberg, his journey this year has been incredible. You look back at the beginning of the year, it's the student section chanting Sam Hoiberg's name at the end of a blowout to get him off the bench. He's like the fan favorite. And now you get to the end of the year, and this guy is a key returner for this Husker basketball team next season. You look at next year and you go, okay, defensively we might be all right. We have a guy that is an effort guy, a glue guy in Sam Hoiberg. Just his journey from the first game of the year to now the last home game of the year. That's been one of the most incredible stories for Husker basketball this year, in my opinion.
You want to get him out of the game at the end so he can get the applause from the fans for the appreciation as opposed to let the kid get in and maybe get a shot off, right?
Yeah. Thing with Sam, it's gone beyond the, oh, isn't this cool?
Feel good story, yes.
Sweet. Let's pat him on that. He has been a difference maker with the intensity he's brought, and it's translated from the practice floor where he's pissing his teammates off to getting in someone's hip pocket defensively, and his anticipation, his basketball IQ. He's athletic. He's not a scrub. He played really high level basketball at highest. He's a good player. You just didn't know if it translates to the Big Ten, but effort and intensity and intelligence always translates.
He plays like a coach's son, doesn't he?
He does. Great motor.
Great motor, high energy glue guy.
That
gritty,
IQ, right?
Gritty, high
we can go through
IQ.
I wonder if Mom sat him down and said, "Look, okay,
this is what you're going to do." Let's kind of parlay Fred in year 4, 5, and 6, like you're talking about, and what Matt Rule has waiting for him, and whoever's been brought into Nebraska football aside from Bo Pelini, and really Tim Miles too. I mean, Tim Miles that first year, with what Craig Smith did on the recruiting trail, year 2, they go 19-14 and go to the tournament as an 11 seed. But honestly, from a learning curve standpoint, it's been hit or miss with who's been hired, who's come in, and how do you win in the Big Ten? How do you win in football in the Big Ten? We can tell you, no one's listening. How do you win in Big Ten football? How do you win in Big Ten basketball? And guys that are accomplished coaches have had their own idea how to do it. This is how I've done it. This is how we're going to win. We're going to score 95 points a ball game with space and pace, and it's going to be offense first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Maybe we'll box out and get a rebound, but it won't matter because, damn it, we're going to be so good from three-point land. Or, special teams overrated, okay? Not a big deal, and then it's cost you 12 ball games during the Frost era. It just seems like you don't know it till you're in it. As good of a coach or as good of a background as you may have in offense, football, or basketball, you really do get punched in the face here in this league, and then you have to adapt.
And sorry, not to step on your toes here, Bill, but that's even from the top coaches in the Big Ten that we see now. PJ Fleck had an adjustment year. Jim Harbaugh had probably 2 adjustment years at Michigan where he kind of got accustomed to the Big Ten. The only example we've seen of a guy who didn't need the adjustment period is Ryan Day, and look what he had in the cupboard whenever he started out. I mean, he didn't step into the Big Ten. He was already a coordinator. Yeah.
But in Big Ten basketball, what does it really take to be a winner? If you look at the Big Ten standings, and I don't have them in front of me right now, you have, and we've talked about it throughout the year, you've had Purdue. Indiana's gotten hot. Okay, Purdue's fading just a little bit.
Indiana's gotten tough.
But for the most part, Northwestern's had, maybe the best year in its program's history. But for the most part, north of Minnesota and south of Northwestern in the top 3, what's the real difference record-wise between those, 10 teams? I mean, Nebraska, is just above Northwestern and down there with Penn State. But to be honest with you, you beat Purdue a couple of months ago or a month and a half ago, whatever it was. Nebraska's in the upper half. There's just everybody is 7-9 or 9-7 or 8-8 in the league right now. So the margin of being a winning team in the Big Ten is, in this year anyway, is pretty slim. And Nebraska, the way they've turned it around in February, had they played this way and maybe got that win over Purdue, Nebraska's in the top 5 or 6.
For them to do it without their horses,
right?
And with a Tominaga that's a role guy and now has been an offensive star, to do it without Bandamel or Gary that are stoppers that really are that embodiment of your defense first philosophy, to now get a Sam Hoiberg, to get a Blaze Keita to step in, to get some decent minutes and still ride the Greasel Walker 1-2 punch. And then you have a number of kids that get their roles, accept their roles, are happy, and they're all clicking. And then the journey of Wiltshire, we always think of Walker as the barometer, and he is. But also, it's icing on the cake if you get a double-digit performance from Wiltshire. But that's been more of the story, at least on the defensive end, and then he'll give you some offense. So it's been an ongoing transition for this basketball team that's been really fascinating.
And Nebraska fans have responded.
Yes.
And that's the amazing thing. And I was watching the game the other day, and the Minnesota game, and you're thinking, this team is just over 500, and we're celebrating that, and justifiably so. But again, where else in the country would you have teams celebrating and selling out for a team that is just over 500, right, and has given you highs and lows that are pretty dramatic this season? But Nebraska fans respond when you play hard and you give an effort, and they will respond in kind, and they will sell at the place, and they will enjoy a $10 beverage, and they will probably sell out the stadium to watch volleyball because they know the kind of effort that they will see. If you put on a bad show and bad effort, they'll be disappointed. But if you give a good old Nebraska try, and I mean that culturally, they're going to be there for you.
They're going to be 3 hours before tip-off back in a sports bar 8 blocks away from the stadium. Come on down to Rosie's here and see the environment. Husker fans just looking around you, they look excited. I don't think you can name another 15 and 14 basketball program in the country that would have this many fans this long before tip-off getting themselves all set for the home finale.
But you hope, okay, let's say that things don't go the way they have the last, 5 games for this team. I don't think that people are going to go, well, that was a nice run and we're done. I think people are still going to be behind this team when it goes into postseason play. If they kick Iowa south of the border again, I mean, what a great season this has been.
Yeah,
but people will be there supporting them. The thing about Michigan State, look, they're not. I don't think that they are going to be fazed by what will happen in the arena tonight. They've got a coach that's got the right personality, and they'll be able to withstand it. It'll be how much will this team help Nebraska not hurt Michigan State.
And Bill, you brought up an interesting point that may have to be a talking point for later in the week. I'll have to go dive into the stats. When was the last time that Husker football and Husker basketball went a season without losing to Iowa? It's been at least 7 years. I got to think back. Has it ever happened since Nebraska joined the Big Ten?
2014.
You have a chance this week.
I don't really care.
Did they sweep them?
I don't care what happens next week or in the finale at Iowa. They've already done it. It's a great year in my book.
It is good. Bill Doleman here, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah, and Bill Doleman at Bill Doleman. Connor Clark is, you made him sad. You took his headset and he's sad over there.
Well, he's on the phone.
I know.
Give us a wave.
Who's he talking to?
He's enjoying being 21.
His bookie probably taking the points.
I'm not by the river. Can you mess with it for me? We'll dive into Bill Doleman's take on the Raiola ceremony over the weekend. Jack Ebling with us at 5:40. We're down here at Rosie's. Come see us. Jack Ebling with us at 5:40. We're down here at Rosie's. Come see us.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hail Varsity is a must-have for true Husker fans. Get a monthly magazine that'll make checking the mail fun again. Daily analysis, the breaking news, including the inside scoop on recruiting on HailVarsity.com. And every June, that's right, every June, you'll get the Nebraska Football Yearbook, a season preview completely dedicated to Nebraska football. That's as comprehensive as national previews. Remember, get to HailVarsity.com.
Paid for by Stansberry.
With massive layoffs in nearly every sector, weakness in manufacturing, and the biggest one-month decline in the trade deficit since the financial crisis, the economic picture is not looking good, which might explain why so many billionaires are loading up on gold, including hedge fund manager John Paulson and real estate mogul Sam Zell. Bottom line, now is the time to own gold, which is why the experts at Stansberry Research just stepped forward with a major gold prediction, arguing gold could soar as high as $3,000 by the end of the year, possibly even higher. You can find out why and get instant access to their #1 gold investment today. It's not bullion, an ETF, or a mining stock, but in the past, this gold strategy could have made you nearly 50x your money. You don't want to waste any time missing out on the gains these experts believe are in store for this gold stock. To get the full story, go online to goldapproach22.com. Goldapproach22.com.
Choosing flooring doesn't have to be hard. Enjoy the process with Carpets Direct.
With endless possibilities, you can imagine your home in a new way you've always dreamed of it. At Carpets Direct, your dream floor is our job.
With so much to consider and so many ways to accent your home, the Carpets Direct team is here to lead the way with carpets so tempting you won't be able to resist.
Feel free to dream big at Carpets Direct, 48th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, and online at carpetsdirectne.com.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. It's Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. Bill Doleman is here. Connor Clark off in the green room. We may give him some earbuds and he can stream in. Jack Ebling, award-winning sports commentator and writer for Michigan State, with us at 5:40. Jack does a show in East Lansing that's syndicated across the state, The Drive. Jack's done work with Tom Izzo and, of course, all the Spartan Glory years with their football run. Almost 10 years ago when you look at D'Antonio and what they were doing, winning Big Ten titles and winning in Columbus. So Jack will be with us here in about 15 minutes. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. Can watch the show stream, Hail Varsity Radio, here at Rosie's on the road, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Hail Varsity Facebook. Make that Twitter handle at HVarsity Radio is where you can follow and watch the show as well. So we're talking Nebraska basketball, Michigan State. More emails to get to, Chris at hailvarsity.com. Guys, let's get to spring football here for a moment. And things are going to shake out with the roster management, guys fighting through injuries or being available anyway. But the showcase that was last weekend, Bill, for Dylan Raiola, you've got the family connection.
Who?
Good. the family connection with Donovan Raiola, of course, and Nebraska being in it. And the visit list is laid out. Dylan did an interview with On3, Georgia, the 18th and 19th of March, Nebraska, the weekend of the 25th. Still connection with Dan Lanning. There are daily communications between Lincoln Riley and USC. And then, Colorado, Oregon, Miami, Michigan, Texas are about it. They are in the midst of it. There's been some controversy around Deion Sanders as well. His appearance on the Rich Eisen show with saying, look, my quarterback's got to be a 3-5 student. My quarterback's got to be from a 2-parent household. I mean, so Deion pulled the pin on some things where there's a lot of kids in college football, no fault of their own, that come from a single-parent family or worse. And Deion said, nope, my quarterback's got to be this. Well, it's not 6'5", 230, rocket arm. It's not. He's got to have 2 parents in it.
And this isn't even the first time he said this. This is one that got traction and has now garnered controversy. The first time he said it, it was broadly his entire offense. He wanted his entire offense to be 3.5 students, 2-parent households, and the defenders, they need to be hungry.
He needs single-parent kids on the defensive line.
Yes.
You got to go make money for mama. And I'm paraphrasing, so I don't want to get pinated here, but that's what he said. He's talking something deeper from a motivational standpoint.
And I would also like to add that from hearing this both times he said it, I don't think he means this literally. I think this is Deion going out there being Deion, being a bit of a personality, saying something in a way that he thinks is going to garner some laughs. But the heart of what he's saying is, you know what? I want guys on my offensive end that are good students that can learn my offense. This is my preference. This is what I look for. And then defense, they want guys who are hungry. I don't think he means that literally my defensive linemen, they have to come from 1-parent households.
Clearly,
my offensive guys need to come from 2-parent households. But the way he said it, you're inviting controversy.
He doesn't care. He's Deion on Prime, and it's about attention, and eventually what can you do as a coach? And I'm wondering if Deion's a guy that's going to wear out his welcome in of all places, Boulder, if he's going to just keep being abrasive unless they go 7-5 in year one.
Well, they've broken the record. They've sold a record number of spring game tickets at nearly 30,000. There's levels to this, isn't there?
There is, but Matt Rule is clearly accelerating the recruiting game. Dylan Raiola can pick where he wants to go. It comes down to fit and relationship. You covered Dominic with me, and we know the bloodlines there are high level. Man, just pretty fascinating to see Nebraska fans go nuts for a legacy.
Well, like I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, I think there are a lot of state holidays that are being enacted in the state of Nebraska so that the Raiolas can have as many family gatherings as possible to bring the Raiolas up from. We want to go back to Nebraska and celebrate the happy third Wednesday of March with Uncle Donovan.
It's Dominic Raiola Day,
and I'm telling you, I think Dominic will be on the letterhead of all state of Nebraska correspondence from here on out. Nebraska's done everything right and everything that they can possibly do from my vantage point and looking at the way they've been recruiting this kid. And if he says, you know what, this has been great, it's been a lot of fun, I got to throw the bones at a basketball game, but I'm going to take my talents to I think Nebraska's just got to say, look, he just had it in his heart to go someplace else. It's certainly been a lot better effort to try and get him this time around than the last coaching staff. I think that's pretty clear. He had no intentions of coming to Nebraska. Probably didn't even like Uncle Donovan that much. But now it's. I think Nebraska has a legitimate shot. But, you know, in this landscape of college football, if you want to take a look at the front runners, Georgia, okay, everybody's saying this kid wants to get to the NFL. Okay, well, your dad knows how to get there. And if you want to look at track records, what has Georgia done to produce NFL quarterbacks? Matthew Stafford 15 years ago. Okay. Since then, who? Jake Fromm State Farm didn't make it, right?
Been a lot of defensive linemen, been a lot of linebackers,
right. But
been a lot of tight ends, been a lot of wideouts, been a lot of running backs, not a lot of quarterbacks.
Right. So there's not a great track record of Georgia producing NFL quarterbacks, whether it be Mark Richt or Kirby Smart. Go back to Eric Zier and, those days with Herschel Walker. So if that's the case, then I don't think Georgia necessarily is head and shoulders above Nebraska. All right. Now let's talk. Wait a minute. Let me USC. Okay, yeah, Lincoln Riley's got a great track record of getting guys Heisman trophies.
And first picks overall.
But in this NIL era, okay, money talks, and in California, money walks right back into the pocket of the government. This kid, if he's going to go...
Bill Doleman with the tax
exactly. I mean, if this kid is going to command the kind of NIL money that everybody thinks he's going to get, he's going to learn a valuable lesson in economics in this country, because there's a 13% state income tax in the state of California, right? And if you're going to go to L.A., the cost of living in Los Angeles is significantly higher than it is in Lincoln, Nebraska. All right. What was it when I think it was Eric Fisher was the number one pick in the NFL draft about 10 years ago, and he went to the Chiefs, right?
Out of Central Michigan, the tackle.
The number 2 pick, whose name escapes me, ended up getting drafted by a Florida team and made more money down there as the number 2 pick than the number 1 did because of taxation, okay? So if this kid's going to go to California and go to Los Angeles where it's $7 for a gallon of gas, all that NIL money that went into your pocket, somebody else's hand is already in it.
But let's also
You'll have your own driver at USC. Let's not kid ourselves.
I'm just saying.
Let's remember, in America, if you're going to go be a star, you go to L.A., whether it be in sports, whether it be in movies, whether it be in music, you go become a star in L.A. That's a fact you got to consider here. But let's also think back to when Dylan decommitted from Ohio State. At the time, it was, well, they brought in a new quarterback, and Dylan didn't want to compete with Ohio State. We even had a comment on our YouTube video about that yesterday saying, well, he's obviously not going to go to USC because recruiting quarterbacks. The Ohio State did the same thing. As you look back now in hindsight, does it not make a little bit more sense that Ohio State saw that Nebraska brought in a head coach that wasn't named Scott Frost, and they saw the writing on the wall? It's clear. Dylan Raiola grew up as a Husker fan. He knows how to throw the bones. Just being able to do that as a recruit is something special. That's a lot of things, or something that a lot of guys don't get until they get to Nebraska, especially with how the defense has been playing over the past decade or so. Throwing the bones isn't as well known as it used to be. He knows how to do that because he was a Husker fan growing up, and I think Ohio State saw the writing on the wall, and they said, you know what? Nebraska's going to make another push at Dylan Raiola. Let's get some insurance. Let's go get Lincoln Kienholz out of South Dakota as our insurance option in case Dylan decides he's going to check out his other options because he does like Nebraska. And you see now, well, Ohio State maybe doesn't even have an offer out to Dylan Raiola. So I don't think it's about the other quarterbacks there. I think this has always been about Nebraska dating back to when Matt Rhule was hired. And the question to me now is, can Nebraska sell Dylan on the fact that these opportunities you're going to get at USC and Georgia, which is to go win a lot of games, get your name in the national spotlight, and eventually go be a first-round pick? Can you get me those same opportunities at Nebraska? If Nebraska can convince him that the answer is yes, I don't see Dylan going anywhere else.
It's a simple question of beat them or join them. Okay, you come here, we'll be to the point where we'll be competitive. We'll have a chance to win some ball games. You win the job. It's on your shoulders offensively with talent around you to go do your job, do your part, and beat some of the big dogs. Or you can join the big dogs, USC coming to the Big Ten, or, of course, you look at what Georgia's doing in the SEC, their SEC East, but you get the point, and we'll see if the divisions stay the way they are, SEC East, SEC West, in the moving forward. And we're not done with earthquakes in the world of college football with who wants to join, because the Pac-12's broke and has no TV offers right now. I mean, you've got Washington and in Oregon right now. We're like, what are we doing? So there may be more ship jumping here.
Well, there's some cracks forming in the ACC too.
Because you had Florida State and Clemson that are ticked off. That, listen, we've been carrying your ass for a long time, and we're getting the same amount of money, and we should be getting more, right? It shouldn't be just everyone gets the same amount of dollars. That's what it's going to be. So now, I don't know that if you're the SEC, you say, okay, we're going to add you to and diminish what the rest of the league's getting.
Well, ESPN is going to drive that, right? ESPN has the ACC contract. They've got the SEC contract, and if they want, if they think, let's make this move with Florida State and Clemson to the SEC, it will happen. ESPN is going to drive that bus, and the Big Ten with Fox is going to figure out what to do with probably Oregon and probably Washington. And getting back to Raiola, I don't know what the kid's ego is like. It's got to be pretty high, which is fine. He's earned it. That's great. But look, if you're in LA and you're going to be a star, there are a lot of stars out there. You're a star on Saturday until Sunday kicks off. Right?
Sure.
And until LeBron tips off, until Kawhi tips off, and then the Kings and all of a sudden.
Until Costner gets back on Yellowstone.
Right. And in Nebraska, you will be a star 24/7 forever.
Yep, that's a good take. No, absolutely. We're here at Rosie's tip-off, 8 o'clock, Nebraska-Michigan State. Legendary Michigan State insider Jack Ebling next. It's Hail Varsity live at Rosie's, presented by Currency.
Winter weather here in the heartland. The forecast can change in a matter of hours or sometimes minutes.
I'm urging people to take these forecasts very seriously.
Stay warm and safe this winter and stay connected ahead of the storm with the experienced weather partnership of the 1011 Weather Center.
Prepare for what's about to hit us.
And Lincoln's breaking news and severe weather station. FM 103.3, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Boys District Basketball Tuesday night. Lincoln High plays at Omaha Westside for the A6 Championship. I'm Jeff Moats. Join me for the play-by-play. Coverage begins at 6:50 right here.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Moments like hearing my cat purr good morning mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib. Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
On to Wednesday with KFOR, Schmidt and Carroll.
Highlights of the Supreme Court hearings on Biden versus Nebraska will follow.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel. Connor Clark has worked his way in at C_Clark_27. Bill Doleman, just off to the right. We are efforting Jack Ebling and see if he can join the show. We'll see if that can happen. Numbers to get in: 489-1240, 489-1240. Can always email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. And make sure you do check it out. And if you're hearing us on some of our affiliates, 800-825-5865. That's the way to get in touch with us. You can watch the show, stream us, Hail Varsity YouTube, Hail Varsity Twitter, at HVarsity Radio is where you find the Twitter. And then KFOR Sports, KFOR Facebook, and Twitter ways to find. So we'll find Jack Ebling allegedly shortly. But met Jack in North Carolina Sportscasters Award. He has won 6, 3 for writing, 3 for radio, and does an afternoon show across the state and has forever covered Michigan State. And Will Wilson is efforting. We'll see if we got him. Nope. Will Wilson's shaking his head.
Well,
no.
I know that you've been trying to get him to adopt Junior so that you can get in-state tuition at Michigan State, as I recall.
He has a
also just a lessen the load anyway. But anyway.
Yeah, right. He has an offer anyway to be a team manager for Michigan State basketball.
There you go.
Now, I don't know if Jack ran this by Sparty or not, but it sure as hell sounds good right now. So
Izzo's going to be at practice, and your son's going to show up and go, "What are you doing here?"
What's funny is the last time we were here, I think this was 2019. Sparty was in town, and Junior had got called onto the court. He got down there early with my wife, Erin. So Sparty's trainers had Carson on the court, and he got Cassius Winston. Remember him?
Yes. How could I forget?
He got a selfie with Cassius, and so Carson's loved Sparty since he's like 5 years old. So long and short of it is, my wife's like, okay, you need to take me down to the floor. And I have my media pass, like, really, I'm not supposed to do this. Not even for you. So I got her down to the floor, and then she went total Costanza. women, children, grandparents, just starts clearing everybody out. Like it's the episode where there's the fire. She just starts clearing everybody out, hops her way next to Izzo, and Izzo's eyes are like, who the hell is this crazy blonde? Loading up for a selfie. And she got it. She had her Michigan State sweatshirt on, and she's a pretty blonde. And Izzo's like, am I going to get shivved? You know? He's kind of talking through his
Kind of
teeth.
like the way you were at the chapel, but anyway.
A little bit. We're all going to get shivved at one point. It's just whether or not our wife does it. But no, we'll try and connect with Jack at another time. But listen, big ball game tonight. It goes without saying. I want to talk NFL here for a moment. And what do you believe? What would you do? We've talked Bears because you're a Bears fan. You have the controversy of the true height of Bryce Young. Dear God, he's only 5'10" and a half. Better move on from him. If you're Chicago, have you seen enough from Fields in a short window to stick with the style of, he's a big quarterback. He's been injured, but he's also talented. Like they've used him at least early on to do what he does best, and that's use his feet. Can he live that way? I don't know. I mean, Lamar's been hurt a lot. These mobile quarterbacks eventually get squished in the NFL. Do you package a deal and trade this first pick if you're the Bears? And I ask that question because what could you go draft right now that's not a quarterback if you're Chicago that you need? And I know you need a lot, but do you package it? Do you get rid of it? Or do you try and move on from Fields and keep that number one pick? I know you've done a lot of work in the NFL, Bill, with the Texans, and so you've been in that neighborhood when they do have the first pick, and it's go get your quarterback, and it was David Carr.
But he had nothing around him, right?
No, I know.
And Carr got killed because there was nobody to protect him. Where did he get sacked 75 times? You know, and his career was destroyed because they thought this is our guy, but they didn't give him anything. They gave him a knife at the gunfight, right? And I wonder about that with Fields. I'm not a Bears guy. I'm not a Bears hater, lover, whatever the case might be. But I don't think that they've adequately given him.
Didn't have a running back, a wide out, or a line.
The fact that they're 3-14,
yes,
is not on Justin Fields.
No,
it's on whatever they put around him that has not allowed him to not even to grow. He hasn't been able to grow into the job, let alone be a difference maker. And I think that it's really on the Bears. So if it may be best that they ship him off and package a deal where they get some more. Maybe they get 3 picks for that number one.
Walker.
Maybe just because they've got to get some people in place that are going to adequately protect whomever they put in that quarterback role. But I don't think they've been fair to Justin Fields at all. He could go to another place, find a great situation, and he could flourish, and they will regret it for a long time.
I don't think they'll get rid of Justin Fields. I think that the argument to trade him, this is the problem that I have with it. And you mentioned, can he make a living as a runner, right? And obviously there's design plays for him to run because he's just an athlete. He's a bigger quarterback, as you said, and he's got 4.4 speed at that quarterback position. But half of it, he's just running for his life because he's got, as you said, nothing around him.
He said he had better players at Ohio State.
Exactly.
Than he's had with the Bears.
So, but that also brings me to this. This is why you keep him, because look at what he was able to do with that team, with that roster, and the weapons around him. Running back was his best, position player with him in the backfield with David Montgomery. And granted, he's not a world beater, but he's a solid back. Khalil Herbert is also a solid back who's a backup. But when Chase Claypool is your number one receiver, and this is no disrespect to Chase Claypool.
He's good, but he's a whack job.
Yeah, that's when you know you have a problem offensively. And the fact that Justin Fields was able to
disrespect him.
Thank you. I do it on my behalf. But the fact that Justin Fields was able to do what he did this season with the team that he was given, I think tells you all you need to know about what the Bears are going to do with him. I think they're going to keep him. They should keep him, in my opinion. They'll trade the first overall pick. They could draft basically anything that they want, offensive line, defensive line, secondary, even though it's young and they've showed promising signs.
Can they get 3 first-rounders?
I don't know if they could get 3 first-rounders, but they could certainly get 2.
2 first-rounders
certainly get 2.
Third.
Teams are built on second and thirds, though.
No, I know.
But you could get 2 first-rounders and think about, teams that need a quarterback that are also within that top 10 range, right? A team, and again, I have to read more into this now because it's been about a month since I've really dove into this. But the team that I looked at, one of the first teams I looked at was the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, obviously, they've been going through a quarterback carousel for, 3-4 years now? Yeah. What if you package that, and maybe if you're Ryan Poles, you do some master negotiating, try and get Michael Pittman Jr. along with that deal as well. He's a pretty good young wide receiver. Maybe get a couple of picks, maybe not as high as a couple of first-round picks. You get a first-rounder, maybe a couple of 2, 3 in the second and third rounds, but that's just the scenario that I see the Bears taking it. I think they will take it. May not be with the Colts, but it'll be with some team of that nature.
Winding down here from Rosie, still plenty of time. Get on down. Nebraska-Michigan State. Hail Varsity continues.
New voices and a new home at 101.5. Get the latest on Husker sports and more. Mornings with Coffee and Cream featuring Damon Benning at 9. Bill Hooks and Will Wilson get you the morning hookup at 10. And KFOR's own Chris Schmidt wraps up the day with Hail Varsity Radio at 4. News, talk, sports, and weather. KFOR. Now at 101.5 FM and 1240 AM.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer, Michelle. As an entrepreneur, every day is different. My phone bill from Cricket, on the other hand, always stays the same. Without surprises, fees, or annual contracts, I can work worry-free. That's Michelle, everybody, doing business like a boss. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer, paid for testimonial. See cricketwireless.com for details.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
KFOR and Legacy Retirement Communities are taking nominations now for the Jerry Joyce Living Legacy Award to honor a compassionate, caring volunteer in our community. If you know an unsung hero in our area, we'd like to find out more about that person. The selected individual will receive up to $2,500 to donate to the nonprofits of their choice. Nominations should be 500 words or less and submitted at kfornow.com or mailed to KFOR Radio by Monday, March 13th.
Birds survive cold winter nights on food they consume during the day. So a well-stocked bird feeder is just what birds need to keep them going when winter food sources become scarce. Haven't started feeding the birds yet? Stop by the Wild Bird Habitat stores for Nebraska's largest selection of backyard bird feeders, birding supplies, and quality wild bird feeds. Wild Bird Habitat, Lincoln's backyard bird feeding centers for 30 years. Alamo Plaza, 56 on Highway 2, or north at 4900 Dudley Street. Voted Best of Lincoln in 2021 and 22.
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor because that's a really important job. I would hope kids get better and make everything super fun. I'd have a cool waiting room with games, toys, and a huge TV.
If your child is sick over and over again, it could be PI, a serious defect of the immune system. Early testing gives children a chance to dream.
And I'll give every kid
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks for hanging out at Rosie's. The fun continues even though we're done at 6. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, the Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman going to be back here on the 2nd here during girls state basketball 4 to 6. So come on by. Reminder to tell you about our friends here at Dyer Law. If you've been hurt in a personal injury accident, you can count on Dyer Law, that team, to provide you with a helping hand you need no matter what you're dealing with. Call the Omaha Dyer Law team today at 1-888-DYER-LAW or visit dyer.law.com to chat with trusted professionals about your personal injury claim. Reach out, personal injury and the experts. Dyer Law, the team that can provide you the help you want, the help you need. 1-888-DYER Law. Give them a shout. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, Bill Doleman, as we're here, and presented by Currency. So I'm going to throw my prediction out. We'll get Elijah's take as well from a score tonight. Sparty's favored by 4.5. Sparty wins tonight by 7. They get it handled 77-70. They end Nebraska's streak, but good ball game, great effort tonight by the Big Red. Do you have a prediction?
I do, and I'm going to differ. I think it's going to be a tight ball game from start to finish. I think both teams will have their runs. At the end of the day, I think Nebraska ends up getting it done. Again, if you're a Husker fan, you say you're not nervous. I don't believe you. But I think at the end of the day, Nebraska wins a close one at home to close out the home schedule. 72-68 is my score.
72-68. Bill Doleman, do you have a prediction?
Pain.
Thank you, Clever Lang. Elijah, what's the score? What's your prediction, dude? Just shout.
I'll hop on headset briefly.
Okay,
I texted Connor, but the text didn't come through in time. I have no idea what you guys have said, but I will say
77-70 Michigan State.
Oh, it's really close to mine, except I got 76-71 Nebraska.
Okay.
The magic rolls on for the Huskers tonight.
I'll bet you all a steak and a beer.
It's senior. I think the better discussion is if Nebraska wins tonight, and maybe I'll get you on that steak and a beer. I don't know yet. If Nebraska does win tonight, NCAA tournament chances, do they go up?
They got to win out, dude. They got to win in Chicago. They got to win the whole bleep.
I don't think they have to win the whole thing. If they win out, they're the hottest team in the country. They just need 2 wins in Chicago. I think it's in tournament bound. If they beat Michigan State, if they beat Iowa, 2 wins in Chicago, I think it's into the tournament.
Bill Doleman's not considering you taking a drug test, I think.
Wondering how many of those things he's thrown down since I've been sitting in this chair.
What do you have?
What Nebraska wins it? I think it's the first time in history all 5 starters score over 30 points. Blaze Keita with 11 off the bench, and Nebraska wins it 161-45.
In an air cast, Blaze Keita off the bench for 11. Will Wilson, what do you say?
I think we lose 83-80 in overtime. How about that?
Who's we? Michigan State? Good.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Your dad would be so disappointed.
That's pretty good. Reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries. Only if properly worn. A seatbelt is the way to go. You click it or ticket. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. We will high-five you from Rosie's. Come by, see us here till 6 for the show, but the fun continues afterwards as we get you ready for Nebraska-Michigan State. Tip-off at 8 on BTN. Then we're back here March 2nd for state basketball. It is going to be on. Great time of year down in the capital city, not far from PBA. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Will Wilson. Thanks to Connor Clark. Big thanks to Elijah Herbel. Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, Schmidt. Back at you tomorrow at 4.